What's up, you guys? Another awesome video here. And today we're going to talk about something really important that's been on my mind, and it encompasses basic your interpersonal skills and your ability to quickly identify who is the right person to work with, okay? Because in the world of professionalism, or when it comes to hiring a person to repair your credit, it's obvious people have to have the credentials. Let's take, for instance, your last interview or an interview that you went on. The job that you went on, whether it's in IT, whether it's in medical, whether it's in mental health, whether it's in construction or in finance, the employer put you, and depending upon how large the company is, the larger the company, the bigger the chain of command is, and you would go through what's called a multiple step interview process, maybe like a 5-step interview process before you even get to the CEO. And in that situation, you would first meet with someone to basically vet you out, right? To basically do the proper vetting and make sure that, you are who you say you are. And for the most part, they understand your credentials and you're qualified. That's why you got the interview in the first place, right? But it's not about the qualifications. I was recently at a bar and I met someone. I typically don't go to a bar, but I met a friend. He owns a gym, which is down the street. And, we met at the bar. I actually saw his bike because he rides a Harley too. And I saw his bike parked outside of a bar, and I'm like, oh, dude. And I just stopped by to see him. I saw his bike. I said, hey, I saw your bike. And then he's in there with some group of friends, and he's a top trainer at one of the gyms. Actually, it's a chain. It's a private chain group. I wouldn't say franchise, but they have multiple locations. And usually people would assume that a place is a franchise if they have multiple locations, depending upon how smart they are. But anyway, it's not a franchise. Can't buy into it, but it's a gym. It focuses mainly on boxing and martial arts, and then now they're doing fitness. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm just trying to build context in the conversation. So I met him, then I met a guy, and then he was just talking to me about his startup, and then he kept on telling me about his prior work and all this and all this and all that. I'm like, just for 40 seconds, which is a long time. Typically, you want to keep your introduction under a minute, definitely under 30 seconds. And it's not so much of, blurting out information, because for the other person, it's like sipping water out of a fire hose, and you don't want that. In the beginning, it's about like playing tennis. I throw the ball to you, and then you throw it back. Boom. And then we're having a conversation. And so the point is this. If there's people out here that are just flaunting on, telling you reasons to buy, explaining themselves, and this and that and this and that, I mean, you want to be careful, because it's not about qualifications. I mean, you want to check their qualifications, sure. On YouTube, good luck with that. People can just blab and blab and blab and blab and go on and on about their products and services. But until you have a back and forth with them and have a period where you research them, like my client John did. He researched us for several months, and he found the right person to work with was me, because of my values, my sincerity, the content I produce, the results that I get, and the capacity of how I work, and the technology I use to get the job done. But in a sense, Lexington Law is pretty qualified. I mean, they have lawyers, right? They're a multi-million-dollar company. They didn't get his business. Why not? Well, John wanted a personal mentorship. John wanted to be working hand in hand with a professional closely to get results. That way, he knew he didn't have to babysit. He didn't have to call another company to get this or that or this. And he didn't work with necessarily a one-man show, but he didn't work with a useless army, okay, of an army of zombies. Basically, people hired from domestically or a country. By the way, just because someone's hired from another country is not the ultimate deciding factor of their qualifications or their intelligence or their ability, their capability. People from all over the world come to America, and they're very capable. Google, some of the biggest companies, contract people from other countries to come here on an H-1B visa. I bet you didn't know that. I know that because I'm from Silicon Valley. I work for Google, and I have friends in management that work for ABC and or Alphabet, whatever it's called now. And if you look at Cisco Systems, they call it Cisco Village, and it's a village all of Indian people on H-1B visas, because that just seems to be the culture. Indians are really good at software technology in the Bay Area. There's a lot in software and IT. Anyway, the point is this. All those people had qualifications, but what gets you the job past the interview stage is more or less, who are you working with, right? How is it working with you? How do you deal with teams? How do you deal with criticism? How do you deal with this, that, mentorship, right? And so I'm constantly vetting out people to work with, and you should too. And that's precisely why John and Rick and John, so many, I have like 50 different jobs I work with. They have basically made a decision, and they were right. When you do the research, you were right. I'll give you another example. Take a look at this. Take a look at this aquascape that I had my friend design. The one right here, okay? The one right there standing behind me, I made myself. But it was underneath the guidance of a professional that I was able to create that scape. And then they made this one. But my design, I designed it from head to toe, and they basically did most of the work. And that's important when you're hiring a professional, because if you look at all of these, if you look at all of those foliage right there, everything came from a different provider. And before I created these aquascapes, I was dealing with multiple aquariums, retailers that had different products, even online companies. And they all had different levels of customer service, and they all had different people running their business. They're all small businesses and some larger online that I couldn't get answers from. And then I went to YouTube University, okay? I went to YouTube and I researched how to do this, how to do that. And through a lot of guesswork of trying to connect the dots, because you can have all the components, you can have all the information, but it's the chronological order of that information and the stanza of it all and how it's orchestrated together and the nuances, ABC 1, 2, 3, or it can be Z back to A or intertwined. So things can get complicated, especially when you follow steps through a process, but then one element could complicate the matter, and then you have to go back and reverse engineer everything. Same with credit repair. You probably search with credit repair online and seen lots of information where you have paralysis analysis. You analyze the market so much, you have the information, but you're not getting the personal support from that YouTube guru. So that's why we have the personal program here, because we listened, we saw, and we knew people wanted that. And just like this aquascape here, if you look at it, let's take a good look at it, okay, shall we? Okay, so we are looking at this beautiful aquascape. There's other videos of it before. I don't really have the light turned on, but you can see it through natural light. If you look at all these plants, okay, look at the substrate, look at the branches, the driftwood, look at this particular fish, and look at the different plants. All of these plants, okay, had to be put in at a certain order and a certain way for their roots to grow. And so if I were to plant this, stuff, if I were to plant this at different times, I would have got different results. I had to get the right spacing right, because how this is now is not how it looked when I first planted it, because things grow. Much like your credit will grow and change. So when there's new information added on your report, whether adversely or positively, that could have adverse action later on if you don't properly do the prep work. Credit repair is a long game, okay? We may get fast results, but those fast results are circumstantial. Although they're really high, it's a high success rate, but we don't want you to be misled, because the reality of credit and building credit is a continuous proactive thing, just like this tank. Many of the aquascapers online today will think, oh, it just ended up like this. No, you see this video now, but you didn't see all the work prior to this and then the prep work. It's the same with credit repair, I promise you. Before you do disputes, you want to do the proper prep work. So you prepare the disputes later on. And I will make a video about that later, because you may know how to write a letter. You may know who to send it, which bureau. You might mail it in a certain way, but it's not the full spectrum of it. You could get this quality outcome if you do it the proper way, just like you can get your credit fixed properly, done the right way. We don't know the journey it took you or other people to get their credit fixed. That's what you really need to focus on, because if you focus on the long term, that will set the stage for later on down the line to make it easier. And sometimes it's not about getting the results fast, right? You could get fast results for a couple things, but you need to look at the full spectrum of your credit life, okay? Disputing inquirers. If you dispute an inquiry, it could compromise the integrity of the open account. There's so many instances. I know I'm being vague right now, but for the lack of time, because I got to do other things, okay, with my day. And YouTube, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't like making content. I only make content for you guys, okay? You guys give me feedback, but honestly, I hate acting. I don't like being on camera, but I do it for you. I was pushed to do YouTube. I don't even care about it. There's so much business that we get outside of YouTube. YouTube is just can't even compare to the amount of success that you guys should read. If you are on YouTube, you need to check out my website, check out badcredit.org, check out all the other professionals that are talking about Pinnacle. But more importantly, the most important, my clients, my actual clients, not fake reviews, not competitors leaving silly, crazy reviews. And I know you guys with intellect can see clear as day, like who is crazy leaving like BS and who actually has a legitimate experience. There is no way, shape, or form, unless someone has some Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality where they call me on the phone, and there have been times that people hire me and do that. But I've become good at vetting out people because I've learned as a business owner, I don't want to take on everyone. Businesses that want to become robotic and turnkey are like McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't really want to make you happy. Okay, you think you're happy with that instant gratification, but when your belly gets fat, protruding outside of your genitalia to the point where you can't even see your rod, your testosterone begins to decline, and then, you know, you'll have problems down the line. Anyway, the point is this. I'm a real person, you're a real person. Back to the topic. It's about identifying the right person to create a synergistic relationship where I can properly quarterback things to you, or you can quarterback things, your situation to me, and I can prepare for it. I know what you want. Let the professional do it. Let me see your report, and I can just do that for you. Let me take the headache for you and give you peace of mind, because there are cases where they're complex. Even the best lawyers with the best track record that charge the highest fees may not get a dismissal, may not get the result that is a dream, is a wet dream to their clients. But it doesn't make them bad. They have a fighting chance. Even the best fighters in boxing, right? They don't get the knockout in the first round. Does that make them less than a champion? Oh, you didn't knock him out the first round. No, that's just romanticized BS. But in real life, it's not about that. Even the champions in boxing, I use boxing because I'm a boxer myself. And you can't just expect the first round knockout. It does happen, okay? And if you look at all the champions, they have a high knockout record, right? If you look at Pinnacle's track record, we have a high knockout record, like first rounds. Look at the case studies on YouTube. Keep them in mind and look at the case studies. If you're impatient and you can't do the research, well, guess what? You're going to be even more emotionally distressed. If you are emotionally stressed out to do research, like, oh, I don't want to research, I don't want to watch that, I just want it fixed now. Well, you're immature. You're going to definitely fail later on. And if you make decisions in haste, if you make critical business and credit financial decisions in haste, I'm sorry, you are at a high percentage of failure, and you're going to stay in that revolving door of fuckery until you wake up one day and be like, you know what? All the mistakes I made are my mistakes. If you hired the wrong person, it's your mistake. Don't get mad Don't get mad because you made that mistake. That's not allocating the blame. Let's pick someone to blame so we know who to let out our energy and turn them into a punching bag. It's not about subduing our emotions and trying to give us emotional gratification. Fuck emotions, leave it out. It's about understanding, okay, I made those mistakes, I need to fix them. 2 + 2 is 4, it's not 8, okay? 2 + 2 is 4. 4 + 4 is 8. 2 × 4 is 8. Are you doing adding or multiplication or dividing or subtracting? You have to understand the mathematics. It's all logic. Let your emotions out of it, okay? Let your emotions out where they're just too crazy. If you're in a situation where you're desperate, you need to check yourself. That desperation will lead you into the excitement of calling someone and letting that salesperson convince you. Notice, I'm not convincing you anything. I'm giving you the resources and information to make the right decision. And I'll remind you again, if there's a company out there with no reviews, no third-party companies with financial professionals with a track record where they have a history of doing good work and working with other competing companies and they're not talking about you, you got to be careful about that, okay? It's all about vetting, doing the proper vetting. I'm not going to give you guys a promotion. I'm not going to do this or that or convince you anything. I'm just going to try to encourage you to do the right research. Now, if you were to do the research, okay, you could make the mistake of getting things out of order. Let me give you another example. Okay, let's look at this. Look at this floor that I made. It looks beautiful, right? But it's quite complex in its design and its function. Okay, let's take a closer look. There is a spacer between here. So there's hollow earth underground. All right, now we designed this system to respond to the natural irrigation, the natural elements of earth. This whole floor, and we could see, this whole floor is basically designed like the earth's and crust. It's not complete yet. And it's not complete yet, but it's getting there. It's not complete yet, but it's getting there. But this whole design right here, and this is a actual cage for my baby leopard. I actually have a baby leopard. He's sleeping up there. You probably don't see him, but I created natural elements for him to be comfortable. But anyway, my point is this. I did a lot of research about this. But if I acted upon it, I would have surely made mistakes because there's no step-by-step guide that would encompass the level of detail here. So what I did was I leveraged the experience of the same guy that made my tanks right here. Okay. And so if you look closely at this design, it's designed just like the mantle of the earth to which water openly flows from one side to the next and then goes through the drain pipe over here. Okay. There's a drain pipe right here. Okay, so the drain pipe is there, okay? And so there's an open space, but there's rocks. These rocks are like tectonic plates that shift when the water comes, but some parts where they're hollow and then there's dirt. So the water flows like this, hitting different parts of the mud and the soil, because there's obviously no soil underneath here. There's no point. The soil essentially the soil is only where the grass is. But these hollow parts right here is where the water openly flows and feeds the grass its nutrients and creates a chemical reaction for the grass to grow good. And so this is carefully designed with thought, and such is your credit. This idea came from a professional with lots of experience. And to put it this way, it would not look this beautiful if I did it on my own. And so you want to work with the team because, let me give you another pinpoint. Working with a one-man show is not as good as you may think. You want to work with a team because everyone of us has strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's called a SWOT analysis. Learned that from Business School of Wharton, a professional. I learned that from a professor. from the business school of Wharton. If you go to the Wharton Business School, any business school, they teach you that. Okay, SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and your threats. That's the importance of building a team, because you want to write team for people that can compensate for your weakness. You have your strengths, okay? Like in football, there's a tight end, wide receiver, there's a linebacker, there is a quarterback. I don't even know, I don't even watch football. I don't even know I understand these things, but it's a phenomenon. So you want to work with the right team. Here at Pinnacle, we have a team like a football team. We have roles and we have different departments and different responsibilities for each team member. That encompasses that whole ecosystem of getting the results that you want. The same thing with these tanks right here. The same thing with that floor right here. And by the way, each plant that we have in here is specific because it emits a certain electronic charge to the goal that we need it to in that tank and everything around here. As you can see, I have different plants, and they're put and positioned in different parts of the apartment because they need that certain amount of light. Certain plants need certain light more than others. And certain plants act as a artificial enclosure to protect my leopard from, you know, jumping off the balcony, which you'll not. These things, they won't jump off balconies. But I just want it 100% safe, and I want, you know, some privacy. As you can see, I have some vines right here. So look at my apartment. As you can see, I have some vines. Anyone know what a fudge packer is? Let me know. Anyway, you see I have these vines. Eventually, these vines are going to be like walls that are going to be like a partition. Okay, but it's going to take some time. Okay, it's going to take some time for them to grow. They don't grow overnight. Okay, just like your credit doesn't grow overnight. That's why you got to enjoy the process. And I'm documenting this process. When I make another video, you guys will see how the time has elapsed when this grows. You'll see, oh, on that video, the plants were not as big, but now they look bigger. That's why people document things. So try to document things. Document before and afters and ongoing. That will be your happiness. Your happiness should be the enlivenment and pleasure by pursuing your dream, not necessarily getting there, because once you achieve that goal, you're going to want to get to the next thing, right? And so it's about falling deeply in love in that intimate process of awareness. It's a meditation. It's like the eye of the tiger. Let me show you my cat right here. He hears what he wants. He sees the goal. They call this the eye of the tiger. See? He's sleeping, but he sees it. The goal's in front of him, but it goes away from him. He needs to achieve it. Like, I want that in my life. This should be you. Have the eye of the tiger. Okay? Is it playtime? See? Look at him. He's focused. Okay? Now he yawned. He woke up. He's like, all right, let's get to work. Okay? This needs to be you. See? You need to be like this. Have your goal in mind. He's focused and happy in the process. That's why he has so much enjoyment. Okay? Now, if your goal's in front of you, it's easy. Okay? It's too easy. He's like, this is too easy for me. Now, watch this. Let's set the bar higher. Okay? Let's set the bar higher. Look at his eyes. You see his eyes? Now the goal's here. We'll keep the camera on him. See? Look at him. But it's more or less he's happy to play with me. That's why he doesn't want to sleep. He's like, I'd rather play with my owner than sleep. See? He's looking at it. He's falling in love with the process. His eyes are open up now. It's higher. See? Look at him. See? Look at his eyes. Okay? By the way, this guy is part Savannah. Do you know what a Savannah is? They're really expensive. You can just look at his coat. This is a fancy cat. Look at his ears. His ears are not normal. They're triangular shaped because they're that of a Savannah. That's how you know he's part Savannah. And I know because I know the breeder. Savannah and Asian leopard cat mix. Basically, an Asian leopard cat is the eastern version of a South American ocelot. And that's where you get these spots, these rosettes, so to speak. They're not stripes because people, animals that are in the foresting area get these stripes. This is where the Asian leopard cat comes. But the spots are from his savanna. Savanna have the spots. Any cats that are in the plains, like cheetahs or servals, they're going to have spots. But if you look at the stripes, those are from the jungle type animals. Okay, Asian leopards or ocelots have those stripes like tigers because they're from the foresting Asiatic parts. A South American ocelot doesn't really have stripes, but the Asian one does. So that's where you get the tiger stripes, okay? Yeah, and the stripes come there too as well. See, look at him. You got to be like my cat. Okay? He's enjoying the process of achieving his goal. Face looks kind of like a dog, right? It's this pointy snout. Not a normal cat. Normal cat is a little bit more round and flat. So guys, this video I hope brought you value. If you got some insight, some new information, if you learned, this helped you out, leave a comment below, like, subscribe for more content because I'm going to be posting more content later.